with like the background of these things. So that's the background for emes. Fine. All right. Another. I don't know. I don't know if tonight's stuff is as hard as last night's stuff. I guess we'll find out, right? Where'd we leave off? Oh yeah, Amar Rabbi Yossi. 1, 2, 3, like about 10 lines up from the bottom on Yudal and Rebbeis. What?
Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina.
Yes, thank you. Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Yeah, about 12 lines up from the bottom. Yeah, so Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Nazir shekalu lo yamav. A Nazir whose days are over, meaning he kept his 30 days, like ala tumah, and then he becomes tumah, so he gets malchus, right? There's a punishment for a Nazir. There is a punishment for a Nazir because becoming tumah. If a Nazir becomes tumah or cuts his hair, or meaning during his 30 days, then during the 30 days of the nizirus, if a Nazir becomes tumah, or he cuts his hair, or he drinks wine, so he gets malchus. But what about in the overtime? Like we discussed yesterday, that a Nazir has to keep 30 days. Then he has to wait to take his haircut. If he does not take his haircut, then he still has to keep all the dinim of a Nazir. Right? So, but what happens if he becomes tummy in the overtime? So then Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina is saying he gets malchus if he becomes tummy. But if he cuts his hair then and he drinks wine, meaning before he brings the karbanos, then he is not going to get malchus. Right? So Gemara asks, okay, Mishna tumah delaki. Why are we splitting up? Again, a Nazir has 3 restrictions: not to become tummy, not to drink wine, not to take a haircut. On all 3 of them, he gets malchus if it's within his Nazir days. But in the overtime or the bonus days, he is not. Right? He's not going to get malchus for the haircut or for the wine, only for tumah. So when I ask, Mishna tumah delaki, why is tumah the one that gets malchus? So Gemara says, the Amar Kro, Kol Yimei Hazirun Lashem, the Rabbis Yom Shalachar Melois. When it says Kol Yimei Hazirun, all of the days, so that's coming to include the days after the Melois, after the full days of his nizirus. Yom Shalafnei Melois. And we say that it's like the days that are before the Melois. Right? So therefore it includes tumah. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, then he should also be chayiv for taking haircuts. It says all. It also says kol. When it says the passuk of no taking Nazir not taking haircuts, it also says the word kol. Kol yimei neder nizrei tar lo yavar al roshei. Lasis yomim shalachar melois ki yomim shalafnei melois. That should be the same limud, right? We're saying that the kol before is coming to include tumah, so the word kol should come to include haircuts, right? V'su kol yimei nizrei mikol asher yasim gefen hayayin. It says all the days of his nizirus, from all that he can't have anything that comes from the grapevines. Lasas yom shel acham melois ki yom shel fnei melois. Right? So that should. It's also saying the kol is coming to include the overtime, just like in the regular 30 days he's chayiv. So after 30 days is also right. So that's the kasha. So what I answer is on Tamid Aleph now. Shani hacha. Here is different. By tumah it's different. Domar Achmana, v'timei roish nizroi, and you make the head of the nazir tamei, right? Mishen she nizroi tali leberoishoi. It's where the nizirus is tali in his head, meaning shaving his head, right? So then it's the only time, meaning the only reason why he's keeping nizirus now, he was already a nazir for 30 days. Why is he keeping nizirus now? He's keeping it because he hasn't yet taken the haircut. So that's what the passuk means. If a guy hasn't taken the haircut yet and he becomes tameh, then he's going to get malchus. But for the other things, he's not going to get malchus. So it's a separate passuk. So the Gemara asks, Meisvei, Nazir but a Nazir whose days are over, meaning his 30 days are over, he can't take haircuts, he can't drink wine, and he can't become tumah. And if he does take a haircut and he drinks wine, or he drinks wine, or he becomes tummy mesa, so he gets 40 malchus. So you see, a fair is a braysa that says that there's malchus in the overtime, right? In the post Nazir days when he's waiting around to take the haircut, there's malchus, right? For tumah and cutting the hair and drinking the wine. So that's mamish not like that's not like, who was it that said? Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina said you only get malchus for becoming tummy, not for the haircuts and the wine. So when it says tiyuftah, tzataka, we slug him up and we disprove it, and therefore there is malchus in the overtime days after the main Nazir days are over. There's malchus if he becomes tummy, or if he drinks wine, or if he takes a haircut. Okay, pretty straightforward. Fine. Now we continue with all the weird calculations that this Nazir could do. Zog the Mishna, yeah. Hareini Nazir. The guy says he's a Nazir, likashiyaheli ben. So that we've had already in the previous Mishnah. The guy says, I'm going to be a Nazir when I have a son. But here he said, Vin Nazir meya yoim. And I'm also going to be a Nazir for 100 days. So basically, he accepted on himself 2 nizirus, a 30-dayer for his son, not for his son, but because he had a son, and a 100-dayer for himself. So the maximum days he's going to have to keep is 130 days. So now, noilad loy besadet, but now the din changes. So again, he said he's going to be a Nazir for his son, when he has a son, which is a 30-day standard nizirus, and he also says he's going to be a Nazir for 100 days, right? So noilad loy ben ad shivim, if he has a son before the 70th day of his nizirus. So basically what happened is, let's say his wife's in the 9th month of pregnancy. So he says, I'm going to be a Nazir when my wife has a baby boy, and I'm going to be a Nazir right now for 100 days. So he starts his 100 days. Yeah? So now, as long as the baby was born before the 70th day, like hifsid klum, he doesn't lose anything. Right? Meaning why? Because we're saying that he could double up. Yeah, he could double up, and the 30-dayer for his son will be the same as meaning he could double. He could count his 100 days, and within his 100 days, he could count his 30 days. But that's only if that baby boy was born before the 70th day. Why? Because then, once that baby boy is born, he becomes a Nazir for the baby boy, and he's going to finish his 100 days. So from 70 to 100 is 30. So since he's able to have 30 days, then he could double dip, and he can use both. If the baby's born after day 70, then he can't, right? Because he's not going to have the day 100 will not have day 100 will not have he won't be done with the 30 days for his son. So since he won't be done for the 30 days for his son, none of it counts. Meaning it's either all or nothing. That's basically what Gemara is saying. If he has that baby boy before day 70, then since he can be done his 30 days before day 100, so therefore he could double dip, and all he has to be a Nazir altogether is for 100 days, because within the 100 days is the 30 days.
So
right?
It wouldn't be then in the 9th month, it would be like in the 7th month.
Well, I'm saying no. So in the 9th month, I'm saying it would be, he might not get the 70 days. Yes, correct. If it's, I was saying 9th month since he has 30 days. But yeah, you're right. If it would be, if he wouldn't have the 30 days, then he would have to separate, right? But it's interesting because why not say, okay, so let's say the baby was born after day 75. So let him be a Nazir for 105 days, right? That we don't say. It's only If that 30 can be swallowed up by the 100 fully, then he could double dip. If it cannot be fully swallowed up by the 100, then he can't double dip, and he's going to have to be a nazir first for his 100 days, and then the 30 days. Or he'll have to take a hiatus for 30 days and then go back to his original nizirus, depending on how we learned the Gemara before. But either way, so that's what the Gemara is saying. La'achar shivim, but if it's after 70 days, saiser shivim. So this is a little tricky. These words here, because the Taisus takes out the word shivim, because it has nothing to do with shivim. Saiser, he knocks it off. Because you can never take a haircut less than 30 days. So therefore, if he has this baby after 70 days, then he has to wait 130 days. The reason why Tus is taking out the shivim, because if you leave the shivim in there, then it sounds like soiser shivim. If you translate that, then it sounds like he has to start his 100 days again. Why should he have to start his 100 days again? Right? So it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean he's soiser his. It's a little misleading the way it's. I don't know if it's misleading, but the way we understand it, our basic way of understanding it would be not. It's not. We can't really understand it. But meaning it doesn't mean soiser shivim. It doesn't mean he has to go back to count his 70 days that he already counted. No, it just means that it stops his 70. Then it stops his 100 days. He goes and keeps his 30 days, and then he goes back to finish off his 100 days. So soiser doesn't really mean it knocks it off here. It just means it pauses. Right? That would be the way to understand it. Yeah. So again, it really depends on when this baby is born. Fine. So Zakti Gemara, Amar Rav, Yom Shivim, Oila Lakanu Lakan. Right. So this comes up a lot in halacha, at least for calculating a woman's periods for Vestas, it comes up. But basically, the 70 days counts this way and that way. Right? Meaning, let's say the baby's born on day 70. Right? So do we say that it's too late already? Or do we say that it's not too late? Right? Meaning, the baby's born on day 70. So which way does 70... again, he wakes up, he's got his little calendar, he's got his app that tells him how many days into the nizirus he is. So he wakes up in the morning, he says, okay, he marks off day 70, right? And then the baby's born that day. Is that day 1 or is tomorrow day 1? If tomorrow's day 1, he can't do it because then the 30th day is going to be on 101, day 101. So therefore he's going to have to add on 30 days. But if you say that he could count day 70 twice, it could be day 70 for his 100-day nizirus, and it also could be day 1 for the 30, then it could be a big leniency, right? So Rav is saying that the 70th day can count this way and that way, which is basically another form of saying mixas hayoim kekula, right? He's saying day 70 counts as 1 day for his 100-day nizirus. It also counts as day 1 for his 30-day nizirus, right? So you could double dip. So now the Gemara is going to ask a bunch of kashas on this.
Taisus and Mashma that there's an extra chiddush here. That normally you wouldn't be able to shave till 101 or take a haircut till 100, the 101st day. Taisus says, according to this, you'd be able, since you're counting both ways, you'd be able to shave your head on Yom Meah.
Well, that's really dependent on the machlokes that we had before.
Right, before that it's midrabanan.
Correct, but that's the next. That's really the next parak. It's the next tomorrow's daf. But yeah.
Meaning that is the chiddush of the Gemara of Rav.
Well, I mean,
that's oil lakan that it normally you'd have to wait till 101, but because you're double dipping, you could do it on day 100.
Well, that's correct. If you say that the mixas hayom is going to go on both ends, if you're going to put the mixas hayom on both ends, then that is right. That's what Taisus is saying. Yeah, but that's really totally in the machlokes in tomorrow's daf. Yeah, so very good. So anyway, so Rav is saying that the 70th day counts both ways. Fine. So Tanan, we learned in our Mishna, if the baby is born ad shivim, right, until the 70th day, lo hifsid klum. He doesn't lose anything, right? What do you mean? So it says up until the 70th day, he doesn't lose. But if you say day 70 counts for both, it's gure miskar. Not only you're not losing, you're gaining, because you got to count one day twice. Right? Basically, it's cheating. That's what it comes. I don't want to get a chas shon. I don't want to mean it's cheating like that. But when you decide to become a nazir for 100 days and 30 days, you should have to keep 130 days. But we're saying here it could swallow it. But not only could it swallow it, that you can include the 30 days in the 100 as long as the baby is born before day 70. He's saying in another kula that day 70 can be counted twice. It could be counted as day 70 for his 100 days. It could also be counted once towards his 30 days, right? So you're really double dipping. So it's not that you're not losing, you're actually gaining, right? So what did Rav mean that you're not that Yayim Shivim Oilu Lakan Lakan? So Gemara answers, Ela Bedinhu Deloy Listening Ad Shivim. It shouldn't have said Ad Shivim, right? It should have said, well, I don't know exactly what it should have said, right? It should have said Ad Shivim Loy Hif. It should not have said Ad Shivim Loy Hifsid, right? So he's saying Ela Bedinu Deloy Listening Ad Shivim. It shouldn't have said Ad Shivim Loy Hifsid. Mishum B'Getani Seifa Achar Shivim Soiser Shivim, because the Seifa says that if the baby was born after 70, meaning on day 71, so it knocks out the 70, which again we already said we're not supposed to be gutters to Shivim, but it knocks it out, meaning he has to count an additional 30 after the 100. Katani Reisha Shivim. So therefore it said in the Reisha Shivim. But really, in the Reisha should not have said Shivim. It should have said, or it could have said Shivim, but you'll gain the Shivim. Right? So that's basically the teretz. Meaning really the Mishnah shouldn't have said it that way. It just wanted to align the terminology between the Reisha and the Seifa. So therefore it said it that way. But yes, it is true that if you have the baby on the 70th day, you are going to double dip and you're going to gain a day, because that day will be counted twice. Excuse me. So then the Gemara says again, Tashima Miseifa, Noiler Achar Shivim, Soisa Shivim. If the baby's born after 70 days, it knocks off the 70 days. Right? But according to Rav, if it's born on day 71, it should work. Right? Because 71 will be day 1, and then day 100 will be day 30, right? So it should work according to Rav. So Gemara says, no, my Acher, when it says that he had a baby after day 70, it means Acher, double after, meaning day 72. So basically what we're saying is that when it says the baby is born after day 70, which we would think means day 71, doesn't mean that. It means after the day after 70. So, which is 72. Yeah, which means that day 30 will be day 102, in which case that doesn't work, and therefore he has to go to the entire 30. And then he would need 130. So Gemara asks, continuing from our Mishnah, Aval Achar Mamish Mai, but let's say baby would be born Achar Mamish on day 71. What would be the din? Hachanami Deloy Sasar. You're going to say that will not be Sasar? If so, my ear you the Tani Noilan at Shivim like Hipsit Klum. Why are you saying that if it was born until 70, he doesn't lose anything? Afilu Achar Shivim Nami, even after 70 also. You said it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do any damage, meaning if it's born, even if it's born after 70, it's not going to be a problem. Must be that 70 means, right, meaning 71. There's also a difficult lashon. And our Mishnah from Rav is meaning this is B'chein masnisin l'Rav. This Mishnah is a kasha on Rav. That's what you have to understand. If you read it Pashut, it sounds like our Mishnah is like Rav. The Gemara just said the Mishnah is not like Rav. Shema Mina, that our Mishnah is not going according to Rav. So the Gemara is basically saying now is that Rav, who says you can double dip on day 70 and also on day 1, our Mishnah is not like it. There's no way to understand our Mishnah like it. Even though we had a teretz that achar means achar, but the Gemara is saying now it doesn't fit with the next line in the Mishnah. So therefore, our Mishnah cannot go like Rav. So then Gemara asks, Rav, Kaman Mamar L'Shmaitze. Okay, so now we need, Gershon's not on, right? He would have a good time with this. Parrots, don't be so happy. Right? So Gershon would have a good time with this because Rav, Kaman Mamar L'Shmaitze, who's Rav going like? So what Gershon Russell would ask is, what do you mean? Rav is Tano Palik. Right? What does Rav need to go like a braysa? Well, again, we're looking for support. Rav is an Amoira, and we said, okay, our Mishnah is not like Rav. Okay, so now we need support for Rav for Tanoim. Who says Rav is a Tana and he could disagree? Right? That would be Gershon's kasha. But anyways, but Gershon's not here, so we're not going to handle that. So for Rav, Kaman Amar L'Shmaitze. So who is Rav going like? So
even when he's not here, he has mamash roishim on us. It's unbelievable.
That's right. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. So for Rav, Kaman Amar L'Shmaitze. Who does Rav say his Shmaitze? Say Ilaim Abba Shol. If you say it's like Abba Shol, Titnan HaKoiveras Meisai Shloisha Yomim Koidem L'Regel. So now let's just do a little bit of Hakdama here. So this Mishnah it's a Mishnah in what do you call it? Mayid Cotton, right? It's in Mayid Cotton, yeah, Mayid Cotton. Not that I remembered it too well, but we don't pass it like the first way, so don't get confused with basically what we do. So like what happens if somebody's nifter right before Yom Tov, right? So there's a couple of dinim. If the way we paskin, let's just do the way we paskin, then we'll do the way the Mishnah says it. This Mishnah says it. But basically the way we paskin is that, let's say the person is nifter 3 days before Yom Tov. So as long as you got the Shiva going before Yom Tov, then Yom Tov knocks out Shiva. But Shloishim they'll have to keep. But let's say the person's nifter 7 days before Yom Tov, so that the Shloishim started, meaning Shiva was over before Yom Tov, and Shloishim started before Yom Tov, then Yom Tov knocks out the Shloishim. Right? Because that's the din, that the Yom Tov is, Yom Tov knocks out whichever part it is. Right? So the question is, though, can you count, let's say the 7th day of the Shiva is on Erev Yom Tov. So that's day 7. Can you count that as day 7 of the Shiva and also day 1 of the Shloishim? In which case, the Shloishim is over on Yom Tov, by Yom Tov. Right? Again, so Shiva started a week, the person was nifter a week before Yom Tov. Last day of Shiva is on Erev Yom Tov, so they get up in the morning, right? But that whole day is still Shiva. They just get up from Shiva in the morning because Mikzas Yom Kekula, like we discussed. But that day, really, the Shloishim doesn't start till the next day. But can we say, no, we're going to double dip? The Shiva started in the morning, and right after the morning started the Shloishim, right? And we double dip, and therefore the Shloishim is over by Yom Tov. That's the question. So first, Abba Shol has a more strict halacha than what we just said. So he says that as long as the person was buried 3 days before, then that's batal the shiva. Meaning, according to this shita, if the kvura is 2 days before Yom Tov, then Yom Tov does not knock out shiva. And the reason for this is that the heavy avelos is the first 3 days, which is why in the old days the halacha was that you're not supposed to go be menachem avel the first 3 days.
Well,
Nowadays,
like this.
yeah, we don't. I think we still paskin like it, but it's one of those things that we just don't do anymore.
Some people
go
league the first 3 days for family, close friends. Some people actually do that.
Yeah, so that's right, but that's based on because the first 3 days is the real heavy mourning, and after that it fizzles out a little bit, right? And then Shloishim it fizzles out more, and then a year, and then you forget about it, right? Until the yard site, and then you get into a fight over who you're going to daven for with. But anyways, right? Anyway, so that's the basic order of things. So again, so a koveres may say shloisha yomim koidnu l'regel. So you bury the dead 3 days before the Yom Tif, but the Shiva's gone. Let's say the person was buried 8 days before, so so then since the Shloshim started before Yom Tif, so it knocks out Shloshim, and he's allowed to take a haircut on Erev Yom Tif, because the Yom Tif is knocking out the Shloshim. But here's a chumrah which we don't go with. If he did not take the haircut before Yom Tif, he cannot take a haircut after Yom Tif. Yeah, on Tumah base. That's the first shita. Even if he didn't take a haircut before Yom Tif, he could still take a haircut. Meaning the Yom Tif knocks out the Shloshim. The same way that the mitzvah of Shloshim, meaning the first 3 days of the Shiva, is mevatel the whole Shiva. Kach mitzvah Shiva mevatel is gezeres lamed. So too, keeping the whole Shiva knocks out the gzeira of lamed. Right? So my time the Abashal. Why does Abashal say this? Meaning that you could knock out the Shiva, can knock out the Shloshim also. Must be that Abashal holds that the 7th day of Shiva is the 7th day of Shiva, so Shiva is over, and it's also the first day of Shloshim. Right? So therefore, it goes 2 ways. You can count it as day 7 of the Shiva and day 1 of the Shloshim, and therefore Yom Tov mevatel. So that's
where
the case.
Where do you see that? The Gemara says 8 days.
What?
The Gemara says 8 days. Where do we see that Abishal is being chilek on that part that you need 8 days? Shouldn't you only need 7 according to this? Where do we see in Abishal's machlekes where he's chilek on the Tanakama?
Because he says Kishem. What is it? Shekishem shemitzvah shloshim mevatelas gzeras shiva kach mitzvah shiva mevatelas gzeras lamed.
Right, but he doesn't say when you have to observe all 7 days. Maybe he means through the 8th day, like the Tanakama.
I don't know, but because that's what he says. He says
the Tanakama holds that you have to take the haircut before. All he's being chaylik in is the fact that you don't have to take the haircut before because it's completely mevatel. Who said he's chaylik in the amount of days you actually have to do it for?
No, I'm saying that's what Tosfos says that he says Shiva, like you saw the Tosfos Abashal Leimer says that the Shiva, he disagrees with the Shemaina. Abashal disagrees with the Shemaina. He says all you need is the 7th. All you need is the 7th day. Right? Let's say Pesach starts on a Monday. So as long as the Kfura is on Monday, so Sunday will be day 7. According to Abashal, that's enough. According to the Tanakama, this Kfura would have to be Sunday in order to knock out the Shiva and the Shloshim. Right? So you see that according to Abashal, day 7 counts as day 7 of the Shiva, and also day 1 of the Shloshim. That's on Erev Yom Tiv, and therefore Yom Tiv knocks out the Shloshim. So you see that you can count 1 day for two things. So Rav must be going like him, who says that you could count 1 day for 2 niziruses, right? You can count the day 70 towards the 100-day nizirus, and that same day could count as day 1 for the 30-day nizirus. And what the answer is, no, maybe that's not a raya. Dilma, Rabashol only said it by the avelus of Shiva of the Rabbanon. Maybe by avelus is a Rabbanon, so therefore he said, okay, you could double dip in order to get the shloshim to be over before Yom. But by Nazir Daraisa, that you can't do. That we wouldn't be so makos by Nazir Daraisa to say that you can double dip and count 1 day towards 2 different nizirus calculations. The big kasha on this is that in the Rishonim, there's a big tumah whether avelus is daraisa derabbanan. All right, first day avelus is for sure. Question is, what about the rest of Shiva? This Gemara clearly is saying that the avelus of Shiva is a derabbanan. Right? It can make a big difference when you have all these shilas about showering during Shiva and whatever. whatever, all these shilas that come up, that you need leniencies. It makes a big difference whether Shiva is from the Torah or Shiva is from the Rabbanon, right? So this Gemara, it says, Vavelus Zayin de Rabbanon, right? Yeah, the Rashi, the Mefarish, says, Ikar Vavelus Yom Echad, right? And then the Rabbanon will masakin 7 days after that. Yeah, but there are many Rishonim that hold that Shiva's braysa also, but this Gemara is very shver for that. Okay, that's not our sugya now. Ella. So right now we don't have a raya. We don't have a Mishnah for Rav to hold like. Fine. Now for those that come to the Sefer Chinuch Shir on Shabbos, this next part should be fairly straightforward, but we need a akdama, which is basically a woman becomes a nida, right? Then a nida, normal halachas of nida is that there does not need to be 7 clean days. A woman becomes a nida, let's say she gets a period tonight. Tonight is Tuesday, so it's Wednesday. As long as she's clean by day 7. Next week, Tuesday, by Shkia, period's over, she goes to the mikvah, zagazant. No clean days. No clean days necessary. That's from the Torah. Then the next step is, the next 11 days are called Zava days, which is that if she sees blood for 1 day, then she becomes Asr for 1 day. And then she goes to the mikvah, and then she's okay. If she sees for 2 days, then she also has to keep 1 clean day, then she goes to the mikvah. If she sees 3 days in a row, within the 11 days, after the 7 days of Nida, then she becomes a Zava Gedoyla, and then she needs 7 clean days, which for whatever, not Negaya now, we treat our women nowadays as Zava Gedoylas. That's why they always need 7 clean days. But really, they don't really need that. So here we're going to be talking about this woman who within the 11 days, after the 7 Nida days, saw some blood. So she needs to wait 1 day, and then she goes to the mikvah. She goes to the mikvah that day, and then that night she becomes mutter. So what happens if this woman saw blood on Erev Pesach? So then she went to the mikvah, and then that night, when it comes time to eat the Korban Pesach, she'll be tar. So they said, she'll be tar. Let's include her in the Korban Pesach. Then they shech the Korban Pesach for her, let's say 2:00 in the afternoon, and then she sees more blood. So now what? All right. So the question is does she need to bring Pesach Sheni? So let's see. Ela Rav Damak Rav Yossi. The Tanya. Rav Yossi Yomer Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom. So when we're talking about the woman in the 11 days, where she sees 1 day, she has to watch 1 day. That's why it's called Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom. She has to watch 1 day opposite the 1 day she saw blood. Sheshachtu, they shechted for her a Korban Pesach. V'zarku b'sheni shala, and they sprinkled the blood for her on the 2nd day, right? On the 2nd day of her clean days, meaning the day that she was clean. And then after they shechted her, she saw blood. She obviously can't eat from the Korban Pesach since she's tumah, but Ketura milasas Pesach Sheni. She does not have to do Pesach Sheni. If she's not tumah.
Why is this? What happens if a man got tumah after they sprinkled? Would that be different?
So that's what we're going to see. We'll get to that in a minute. Tumah depends which type of tumah, but let's say it's tumah zav. Yeah, but either way, so let's see. So we're saying that. The question is going to be obvious, sort of like when Naftali's asking. If the woman is tumah, she should have to bring Pesach Sheni. If she's not tumah, let her eat the Pesach Rishon. So my time of the Rav Yossi, la mishum de kasavar, miktzas hayom kekuloi. He must hold that as long as you were clean for part of the day, that's as if you were clean the whole day. These next 4 words we take out. The memai v'dilma mishum de kasavar. And then mikan ulahaba hu matame. She only becomes tameh mikan ulahaba. Meaning, the way we look at it for this lady is that when the Korban Pesach was shechted for her, she was tahar because she woke up in the morning and she was clean, right? Again, she saw blood the day before the day of B'dikas Chametz, meaning the day before Pesach. She needs to wait 1 clean day. So the next day she wakes up, she's clean. So Rabbi Yossi must hold, she's considered clean. Then they shechter the carbon Pesach. Then she sees blood again. That blood must be considered a different day of seeing, even though it's the same day. So therefore, she was tahar when the carbon Pesach was shechted for her. So she doesn't have to bring Pesach Sheni. But the Maisa, she was tummy when it by Pesach by night. So that's what Rabbi Yossi holds. So therefore you see Rabbi Yossi can split a day into two. It can be her clean day. It could also be her dirty day. Because meaning a new bleeding day. Fine. So the Gemara says, when we saw Rabbi Yossi Hachi, does Rabbi Yossi really hold this? Meaning that we don't say that the second time she sees blood that day, or meaning it's the first time that day, but the second time she sees blood, it's from then and on. It doesn't go backwards to the beginning of the day. But Tanya, now we're talking about a male. So a male could also become a zav, right? How? So if a male has some sort of emission, so if he has it for 1 day, so he's just tummy for 1 day. If he has it for 2 days, then he has to keep 7 clean days. If he has it for 3 days, then he has to keep 7 clean days and bring a carbon. So zav bal shteirius. So if you have a zav who saw twice, which means that he needs 7 clean days. Sheshachtu, and then he had his 7 clean days. Sheshachtu v'zarku alav b'shvi. On the 7th day, he woke up. He said, kivaldik, I'm clean. It's Erev Pesach. Shech me the carbon Pesach. They shechted to him, right? And the same, that's the case we just had. This woman who needs to keep 1 clean day. And they shechted the carbon Pesach. And then both of them saw. Right after the carbon Pesach was shechted, both of them saw. Even though the mafreya, anything that they sat on, mishkav means anything they laid on, Moshe was anything they sat on, the mafreya, everything is becoming tamei, but beturin milas is Pesach Sheni. They're both potter from doing Pesach Sheni. Why? Because when the carbon Pesach was brought for them, they were tar. So you see,
why wouldn't you fall into the Inus category?
What do you mean? She is a Inus, but still, that's what Pesach Sheni was meant for.
Even for the women, I didn't know that.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Right? So, but what do you see? It says that anything that was everything became tummy retroactive. So you see that Rabbi Yossi holds that you don't split the day into two. If she sees blood later, or if the man has another emission later, then he is going to have to. It cuts back. So you see, Rabbi Yossi holds that you can't split a day. So when it says no, ma'ila mafreya midrabanan, right? When we're saying that when it makes the things tamei lemafreya retroactive, that's only a derabanan. That's a gzeira derabanan. Really, midaraisa, nothing is tamei retroactive. Midarabanan it is. So we still we have the raya. So again, we had a steer from Rabbi Yossi. The first one, Rabbi Yossi says they don't have to. She becomes tamei, she doesn't have to bring the carbon Pesach Sheni because she was tahar, and we split the days, meaning she was clean in the morning, and then she saw again in the afternoon. So those are considered like 2 different days. So then we said, if that's the case, so what about this braysa that says that everything becomes tamei retroactively? So we say that's not a kasha. That's only midrabanan. Fine. So then the Gemara says, "Hachanami mistaber."
That's Yaakov.
Yeah.
Is this the reason why there's no issue of pigel? That it theoretically she should passel up the whole carbon Pesach for everybody if they shechted it for somebody who was tamei.
What are you saying?
You have to have pigel for a carbon Pesach, right?
Right.
So you have to know who you're shechting it for. You have to have if you're shechting for somebody who theoretically was tamei, if somebody would have to bring a Pesach Sheni, it should pass up the carbon for the whole chabura for everybody. I'm saying, is this the reason why there might not be an issue with that, because it's only tamei midrabanan? It's only tamei midrabanan, Freya.
So honestly, you're saying that she wasn't included in the carbon Pesach?
Right. If she was not included, then that should pass up the whole thing for everybody. They shafted it for somebody who was tamei at that time. And that should pass up the carbon for the whole chabura.
Yeah, but he's saying here that that's not the case. She is included.
But that's what I'm asking. I'm saying, is that the reason why?
You're saying that's why it has to be.
Right. It's only midrabanan, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but I don't think he's saying it because that's because of if they would have come tummy from the carbon, they would come tummy, nothing to do. It just seems to be the way Rabbi Yossi calculates days. Seems to be, I think, that Rabbi Yossi calculates, he says you're able to carry to account a day in two directions. Meaning in the morning she was clean, mixes a yom kakula. So when they shechted the carbon first, she's tar, finished. Right.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You have to have that some sort of a split between.
You're saying that if it wouldn't be like that, you can have a bigger fallout. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I hear that could be. It could be. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Pesach was a long time ago. Right? What did we say? That if one guy becomes tamei, then does it passel up the whole? Does it passel up the thing for everybody? Anybody remember?
I thought there was a din of pigel by carbon paste. I'm not sure.
No, there is definitely. If somebody, but I don't know if this case.
Pigel happens only when you have a machshava of.
No, it's not. He doesn't mean. I'm saying he doesn't mean pigel. It means yeah. It's not. It's definitely not called pigel. But it's along the same lines of that. Meaning, if everybody is not included, so then you have a problem. Okay, I don't remember. But this, you're right. But this would take care of that potential issue. Yeah. The Gemara says, "Hachanami mistavra." It's also mistavra. These are gedalim midaraisa, because if you think that everything becomes tummy retroactively, amai peturin milasis pesach sheni. So then why they put from pesach sheni? If we're saying that if she sees blood on that day, or the man has an emission that day, we're gonna kick it back. So that means she was tummy by the pesach sheni, by the carbon pesach, and therefore she should have to keep pesach sheni, which is what Yitzi is sort of saying. Selamai, therefore, it can't be that it's deraisa. So Gemara says, no, maybe not. Maybe tumah is deraisa. This next few words is, we had it once before. I think we had it. It was in Pesachim, yeah, and I think that's what it says. Tahaim de ziva hetiru. The tahaim, meaning the deep of ziva, is materit. Meaning tahaim, there's a special tumah tahaim, it's called, which I didn't understand it before, and I don't understand it now. But it seems like it's like this deep tumah that it's just not. It's like out of sight, but it's this deep, holy tumah. I don't know if tumah could be holy. I don't know. It's tumah. It's like this deep tumah, not understandable, not seen, and memela. It's like sort of like a hidden tumah. So that's what this ziva had, this hidden tumah, right? Yeah. So meaning we're going to say that the tumah that she had was this deep, hidden tumah, right? And therefore, for this ziva at least, so therefore it's therefore we're going to be makos that's not enough of a tumah to aser the carbon, aser from the carbon for the carbon pesach. Okay, whatever exactly that means, right? I mean, the way the Tosfos says it's talking about if there's somebody sitting on a rock and they don't understand, they don't know that under them is a caver until after they shefted the carbon pesach for them, right? Like way deep down under the rock that they were sitting in, right? So Mamela, they didn't know. So we're going to be makos. So same thing here. The person had no idea that they were going to become a zav again. They thought they were free and clear, and then they saw again. Fine. Even Rabbi Ishia holds that it's lifnei the mafreya midrabanan. Tanya, Rabbi Ishia said, "Haraya zav b'shvi shaloi soisa shalafana." If a zav, right? So we said that a zav, if he sees 3 days in a row, needs to wait. He needs to bring. He needs to have 7 clean days, and he needs to bring a carbon, right? So, and let's say he sees on the 7th day, then he needs to wait another 7 days. He doesn't get messed over only one day. So Gemara says, Monoshach. However, what is Rabbi Yochanan talking about? Isasa or kulusasa. If he knocks off one day, then he means he needs a shiva nikiyim. So how could Rabbi Yochanan say that he only knocks off one day? Monoshach, Isasa or kulusasa. If he knocks it all off, so he knocks all 7 days off. Then he shouldn't be knocking off even one day. Meaning, where does one day come from? He needs shiva nikiyim. So either he has to start it all again, or he doesn't have to start at all. What he meant is no. Rabbi Yochanan says he does not have to start again, not even a day. Okay, so what's the raya here on Tamid Aleph now? V'amarle, get your schnapps ready. V'amarle, Rabbi Yosi kai kavasach, and Rabbi Yishia again. Rabbi Yishia and Rabbi Yochanan having a machlokes, right? They're having Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Yochanan having a machlokes whether a zav who sees on day 7 has to start the counting again, right? So Rabbi Yishia told Rabbi Yochanan that Rabbi Yosi holds like him that you don't have to start again. He says that somebody who becomes tamei on the 7th day becomes tamei from now and further, right? What are you saying? What is Rabbi Yishia telling Rabbi Yochanan? That Rabbi Yossi says you become tamei mikanu la'aba. Didn't we just say that Rabbi Yossi says that anything that they sat on became tamei? So what do you mean? Why is Rabbi Yossi telling Rabbi Yochanan that Rabbi Yossi holds like him? Because he holds that the tumah starts from now and further, and it's not retroactive. If Rabbi Yossi clearly says not, so my lemafreya must be that lemafreya really Rabbi Yossi holds the tumah goes from now and on. Oh, he said lemafreya. That's midrabanan. So you see, the Rabbi Yishia held that Rabbi Yossi is Mafrei is the Rabbanon. So then the Gemara says, Rabbi Yossi michti savar mikzas hayom kekula. So now we're saying Rabbi Yossi holds a mikzas hayom kekula. So then zava gemura the maisi carbon heichi meshkachasla. How do you ever have a zava gemura, which is a zava gedola? Remember, we said in those there's 7 nida days, and then there's 11 zava days. Which is that if she sees blood 3 days in a row, she has to wait 7 clean days. According to Rabbi Yossi, how do you ever have a woman seeing 3 days in a row? Again, because we said according to Rabbi Yossi, as long as she's clean in the morning, that's looked at as a clean day, right? So let's say a woman saw this afternoon blood, right? Now she goes to sleep and she wakes up in the morning, she's clean. According to Rabbi Yossi, that's a full clean day. So even if she sees later in the afternoon, that's not 3 days in a row of bleeding because you had 1 day clean because we said mikzas hayom kekula. So how do you ever have 3 bleeding days in a row according to Rabbi Yossi? Since she sees blood halfway through the day, the other half a day, meaning the morning where she was clean, is already counted as a clean day. So even though she saw blood on 2 consecutive days, but since she had time in the morning where she didn't see, then that's considered mikzas hayom kekula. So how do you ever have 3 bleeding days in a row according to Rabbi Yossi? My answer is either she just bled for 3 days straight. She never had a break. We're assuming that she had a break. But the way Rabbi Yossi would learn it, the way she could become tamei zava gedola, is 3 days straight non-stop. That's one teret. She saw 3 days in a row right before Shkia and then into the night. Right? So therefore, that comes out to 3 days. Right? So meaning her first Bria was right before Shkia till the night. So that's 1 and 2, because she saw on Sunday, and then she also saw on Monday. And then she saw on Monday afternoon. So therefore, that's 3 days. So I can't say I understand that exactly, because I thought we said in the morning, if she wakes up and she's clean, that's considered a clean day. But I guess we only say that if she didn't see at night. If she saw at night, then that doesn't work. That's what you have to say what the Gemara is saying. So again, Biba is saying the Chazi plus the Yom Yisama Shkiyas Achama. She saw for 3 days close to Shkiyas Achama. The Lo Havi Shas the Salik Leila Minyana. There's no time that can go towards a clean day because she never had any clean day because she saw before Shkia and then into the night and then she had a break, but that day doesn't count anymore because she saw enough into the night. And then she saw the next day, so that gives you 3 days, and then into the night, so that gives you 3 days in a row. Okay, Hadran Allah Hareini Nazir, L'chaim to everybody. I'll have a little seltzer for myself, and that's what is that? Is that the first? It's the second parak. What are we up to?
We just finished the second parak.
That's the second parak.
That's it. Second parak.
So I have a stupid question.
All right, we should make many
You
more
said-
siyumim and prakim together. All right. Anyways,
I have a stupid
Shabbos,
question.
a fine night. Yeah, what do you say?
You
Oh,
said
yeah,
a few
Chazal.
times.
He said he has a
7 and
stupid
11.
question.
Yeah, because you said you have 7 and 11. The 7 is the needed braysa. That she until she it's 5 days.
What?
Nida, not 7. You said a few times tonight. 7 days. Nida and then 11, and then get into the whole cheshbon. Isn't Nida the first? Isn't it 5 days?
No, that has the 5 days is a total different cheshbon.
Right. The 5 days are different cheshbon.
Total different cheshbon. Have nothing to do with this.
Okay, fine.
I'm just-
It is. Goddamn.
Wow.
The
Hey,
5 days is a total different cheshbon having nothing to do with this. 5
So
days
how do we get
because
over
she's peleta shechvazera, you can't count shiva nikiyim.
And
Right.
so the 7 of the rice is the 7 clean days that we have now?
that's after. That's
It's
after.
after. I understand it's after the 5. I understand that. But the 7, you mentioned 7 deraisa.
Correct.
That's the 7 clean days we have now? You
No,
can't get out of deraisas.
the deraisa 7 clean days is not a deraisa probably nowadays.
That I understand. I understand that deraisa at 7 days. She has a period on Tuesday. 7 days later, she can go to the mikvah. We have a much more. But we don't start even looking to be clean until 5 days.
Correct.
Why isn't it 7 days?
Because it's a total different
And
cheshbon.
I come to the thing, Shir, and I know we went through this. I'm just get confused again.
There's nothing, no shaykhs to this. But if you come to the shir, you know the answer. And you were here for the shir because it was at the end.
I
Of the
know.
shir. It was at the end. Naftali.
I know. I got the dig. I got it.
It wasn't a dig. It wasn't a dig.
I know.
You were there for it.
Okay. I still not.
Basically, the reason why we have to wait 6 clean days nowadays, not 7, 6, is because we don't know. Normally, a woman sees blood, she becomes a nida. She does not need 7 clean days according to the Torah. She just needs to be clean by the end of the 7th day, and she goes to mikvah.
Right.
Right? That's it.
Correct. We have much
Now-
more. But
What? Now, the reason why we have to add the days is because, let's say, we don't know, but Manazeh, we don't know which bloods, only really 5 bloods make a woman into a nida. Right?
Mhm.
There's hundreds of different shades of bloods. Only 5 of them make nida. So now what happens if she gets a period, a standard period, and the first day of the period, the blood was dam tahar. Beis, it was tar, Gimel was tar, Dalet was tar. Hey became tummy. Right? So when does her 7 days over? Not clean, just 7 days over.
I guess from day 5.
Correct. Oh, but if you're going to say that it starts from day 1, she's going to go to the mikveh if she's clean on day 7, but really she's going 5 days too early. Right?
Right.
That's only because we don't know which reds are tummy or not. But if we knew, like in the old days, which reds are tummy, and she saw the red that she saw on day
Right. So
1.
the 7 clean days are really the braysa days that you normally have to wait. You just have to do 5 days because you don't know.
Correct.
Okay, so okay.
No, that 5. No, that's nothing to do with the 5 days. No. That's why we wait 6 clean days. That's why we wait 6 clean days.
We don't wait 7 clean days.
Do we wait one more clean day? Because once
Okay.
they said we have to wait 6 clean days, we might as well wait a 7th, and then we don't need this whole headache of calculating Zava days and non-Zava days.
Okay.
So
Got
yeah,
it?
Yaakov, is there a share on Hilchas Nida recently?
No.
yeah, somewhere in New York, I'm sure. Yeah.
No,
No,
but
I mean,
you know what? Nobody really asked me to do it, so I haven't had to even push people off for this show.
I gave up on asking you. I asked you all.
no, because you mentioned something. I wasn't sure if it
No,
was
I tell
something
you,
that
on Shabbos afternoon we have shir at my mother's house on Sefer HaChinuch. We happen to be up to the mitzvah of Nida. So
okay.
this week we mamish learned this. We mamish learned this. So that's
Okay.
What time is
We
this?
still have.
what time is the shir on Shabbos afternoon?
It was 4 o'clock this week. It
It goes basically around 50 minutes before Shkia. We basically been davening mincha at my mother's house lately, but because once it turns to summer, then the oilam davens wherever they want. Then because it's a longer afternoon, but usually
But
that
it's not
follow-
on
does that-
Zoom.
does
It's
that
not, there's no
direct-
Zoom on Shabbos.
no
Does
Zoom.
that directly follow Musaf? Paris Musaf?
No, it does not. There's a break. There's a break after Paris.
Small break.
The Yaakov, the Mishnah that we learned, it's kind of interesting the way the Mishnah states. It says, "Hareni Nazir Kishigir Li Ben, V'Nazir Me'Yashalom Me'Yom." Right? So you can. It's what's interesting. You can read that 2 different ways. Hareni Nazir Kishigir Li Ben, and you can also read it Kishigir Li Ben Yenazir Me'Yom. It could be that the Tanai of Meir Yom is also on the bane, and the Nazir is also on the bane. This the way it reads is different from other places where we had this similarly. The Rani Nazir Likashihi Li Ben, all right, that can go on the braysa, it go on the sefer also, and that way it's just written that way, where Likashihi Li Ben applies to his nizirus and his Yom nizirus. It's
Right.
just, I don't know if everybody sees that connected that way. I pointed out. That's why I stayed on to point it out. After that, I'm out of here. While people are counting is 5 and 7 and 11 and 111, 100 counting out there.
8675309.
What?
Never mind. I guess Aaron Horowitz hung up
He was on?
earlier.
He was because he was by a chasana.
Yeah, he was on the phone.
Oh yeah? How'd you know?
I heard his voice.
I didn't hear his voice.
In the beginning, before you
Before you even got
began
on,
sharing.
he kept saying hello. Where's Sviakov? Hello.
Ah, okay. I mean, I wasn't on for that 2 minutes. I hear.
Yaakov,
Yeah.
I think your shaila is a machlekes Rashi and Taisus, or Rashi and Beinu Tam, about the, whether this last teretz in the Gemara is at the beginning of the day or the end of the night and beginning of the day.
What do you mean?
That it has to be. Do you have to start off the day b'tara to be considered mixed shem kikule that it's tar, or it can also be the beginning of the night? That also.
So mixes a lila kakula, right? So that's
right. It's a machlekes rishonim. It's machlekes Rashi and Beinu Tam. Taisus brings down. Rashi and Psachim. Taisus brings down Rashi and Psachim.
Right.
Over here, that holds that it has to be the beginning of the day to be considered a mixed siyam b'tahara, and Rabbeinu Tam holds no. It has to be either. It could be either the beginning of the night or the beginning of the day, or the end of the night or the beginning of the day. I think. Yeah, right. The end of the day or the beginning of the night.
Right.
Or beginning of the day. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying right. So if you but I wasn't asking whether it's a lila kakula. Meaning he's saying, Rabbi Yossi, as long as you clean in the morning, then you're good. Right?
Right, I hear.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Fine. I'm gonna log it
Yeah.
off now.
Did you say anything about the whole like earthquake?